Hi and welcome to Art Club. So this week I'm quite excited because the theme is going to be around animals, which if you know me at all, you know is one of my favourite themes, but it's also one of my favourite topics, which is unlikely animal friendships or relationships. So what do I mean by that? Well, in the wild, this would be something called mutualism or a symbiotic relationship, which means a relationship where animals from different species seem to hang out together in an unlikely event. They wouldn't seem to be the kind of animals that should hang out together, but they do because they have a benefit to each other. So maybe some examples will help. Let's have a look at this. So this is a tiger shark, and you might be surprised to see that there are fish, which would be normally its dinner, swimming very close to it, around it, and in its mouth. So these fish go right into the jaws of the shark, which the sharp big teeth where normally they would never want to go. And why do they do that? Well, this is really common, and these fish are kind of like cleaner fish or dentists of the sea, and they clean the skin of the sharks and they clean their teeth. So while the sharks would normally eat fish, they actually recognize this species and let them in their mouth, and they never eat them or bite down on them at all. And the fish benefit by getting a meal, and the sharks benefit by getting cleaned. This doesn't happen just in the sea. Here's another example. You have a crocodile. Can you imagine sitting in the mouth of a crocodile? I definitely can't. But this is a Nile crocodile, and inside its mouth is a plover bird. And these birds hop into the mouth of the crocodile. The crocodile opens its mouth for them and will never bite down because the plover in there cleaning its teeth, taking out any bits of food or anything that might be stuck. This stops the crocodiles from getting any sort of infections or bad teeth, and it helps the birds because they get a meal. So these very unlikely scenarios happen where an animal that would usually be prey and the animal that would usually be the predator end up just kind of hanging out together. And here's another example that came out recently, and this is a video that a lot of people were sharing because it shows a coyote and a badger. It's known that coyotes and badgers do hunt together, but in this video you can see that the coyote and the badger are almost playing together. And once you start to see animals playing together, you start to think that there's more to it than just benefit of hunting or grooming, that there could actually be some kind of almost friendship there, the way we would have friends and hang out and play together. Apart from in the wild, there are a lot of amazing examples of animals from different species hanging out and playing together in captivity. So by captivity, what do I mean? I mean maybe a farm, a sanctuary, or maybe they've been rescued and they're being looked after by somebody, or their pets. Here's my favorite one. This is Charlie and Jack, and if you look down below the video, you'll see there's a link to a video where you can watch a few minutes about these guys. So Charlie the horse is blind, and Jack is kind of like its seeing eye goat, almost like a guide dog but a goat. And this happened completely naturally on this farm, and the Jack the goat just started leading the horse around, looking after it and being its guide, really. And even when you watch the video, you'll see Jack the goat actually came to warn the people when Charlie was stuck in a bad place. Here's another one, which is a giraffe and an ostrich. So they're called Bee and Wilma, and these guys apparently just had been sharing a similar space, and next thing you know, they started hanging out, and now they're completely inseparable, and they sit together and they play together. And this would be very uncommon in the wild, but here they are being friends. And here's another example which you sometimes see too, which is sometimes when a wild animal is being orphaned and is taken in to be looked after. Quite often things like dogs, which are very social creatures, become sort of like foster parents to them. So this is a Great Dane called Pippin, and it became sort of the foster parent of this deer. And what's nice about this story is that when the deer was big enough, it was released back to the wild and was able to just go off and live its deer life. But it would return every now and again to this house to visit Pippin, the dog. So they had kind of this lasting relationship and friendship that went on beyond the deer being released into the wild. So while we're thinking of all these examples, you might even have some of your own, like do you have a cat and a dog, or know a cat and a dog that actually hang out together that might be pets, or there's great examples of birds and cats that are pets that hang out together in people's houses, or turtles and cats or dogs, or ducks and dogs. Have a look yourself online. There's lots of examples of pets that are very unlikely animal friends. So I was thinking for this week we would look at this theme and then create ourselves some animal puppets with moving parts that could be unlikely animal friends. And we need to think about, why is it that the ones we create do hang out together? What's the reason why they've come together? Is it that they're pets and they play together? Is it that one helps the other in a sort of mutual beneficial way, like Jack and Charlie, the horse and the goat, or maybe like the cleaner fish and the sharks? So for example, these ones I made, I did a tortoise and I did an ox, and I was thinking, why would they be friends? Well, I decided that the ox has very poor legs and couldn't walk very much, so the tortoise ended up becoming sort of like a carrier and would carry the ox around, and that would be their friendship. And then maybe because the ox can reach up high to delicious leaves in the trees, it could help feed the tortoise, so maybe there's some benefits there. And for this one, it was kind of, I made it, and because I made the lion out of this rainbow card, I started to feel like maybe this is not really a real lion, but more like a magical lion that's appeared, and this cat, and that they have this kind of more dreamy, magical relationship. So then you can take the animals you make and mix and match, and maybe you even have 4 animals, like the lion, the cat, the ox, and the tortoise. And maybe there's a story you can create where all these animals start to interact and become friends, or whatever might happen, what adventures might happen between them. So to do this, for the guys who have the art pack, open your art pack and have a look inside and see what you find. And for everybody else, what you will need is some paper or card. Card is the best thing for it, but if you have paper, that will work. And some scissors and things to draw with. But importantly, to make moving parts, if you can get yourself some split pins. So that's a split pin. It looks a bit like a thumbtack, and you can usually get them in stationery shops or sometimes art supply shops or online even. And what's cool about them is it is like a thumbtack, except the bottom part splits in half like that, and that means that you can put them through the paper, split it, and you can attach pieces together that can then move. Once you've got your materials in front of you, how will you make your animal? Well, the first thing you need to do is think about maybe what animals you want to make. For mine, I think what I might do this time is make a donkey. Actually, I have a donkey in mind. So the way to do it, the key to do it, is you almost think about it like 2 separate parts. The head and the body is separate parts. So if you're going to do that, then you're going to put the neck in twice. And what do I mean? So let's say I do the donkey's head like this, and then I'm going to draw the neck in like that, and then I'm going to draw the donkey's body, but I'm going to draw the neck again, and I'll show you what I mean. So you can see how I've drawn a body here, but I've drawn a neck here again, and I'll show you why that's a good way to work once I've cut these out. Okay, so I have got my body here and the head here, and now we're going to use one of our favorite tricks, which is how to poke a hole in paper or card safely. So I have a pencil which has sort of a sharp tip on it. I've got a rubber, and I'm going to put the card down and poke a hole through the card to the rubber beneath it. So we keep the table from being marked, and we keep our fingers safe by doing that. And then I'm going to see, where will the head go? It's going to go there. I'm going to put a hole in the head here. Same way, just pop that down and poke a hole like that. So now I have a hole in the neck of both parts like that. I'm going to get a split pin and, like a thumbtack, just push it through. But then when I get to the other side, I'm going to open up that split and flatten it down like that. So now I have a donkey with a nodding head. Now once you've got that, you can start to colour it in and draw its features, and if you have things like coloured cellophane or something like that, you can attach it on and add all kind of extra details. So what should you do if you decide you want to also make an arm that moves, or a leg that moves, or a tail that moves? We'll do one more example. This time I'll make a dog, seeing as we've talked about dogs a bit. So we're going to do the parts that we want to move separate. So for this one, I think I'll make a tail that moves, and I'll make a head that moves. So I'm going to do the tail and the head separate, and then do the body. So let's do a head with a neck. So I'm imagining a sort of a Great Dane like Pippa that we were looking at. So there is my dog's head. Then I'm going to draw a body, so I'm going to do it standing up, this. And I'm going to give that extra bit of neck like we had on the donkey. So we have a body with 4 legs, and I've done an extra bit to be the neck. And then we're going to do the tail separately. So make things a little bit thicker than you would normally, because you're going to fit a hole with a split pin in it, like that one. So try not to make it too narrow. So I'm going to do a big tail, like that. So there's my tail, the dog's head, and the body. Now I'll cut these out and we'll have a look at how that works. So I've got the body with a bit of an extra neck on it. I've got the head that also has neck, so that's going to go there. And then I have a tail, and I've made it a bit thicker than I would normally draw, just so that I know that it's going to fit on with a split pin. So let's attach them using the same technique. There you go. Now there's a dog with a wagging tail and a nodding head. So I hope you enjoy making your card and paper puppets. I'm going to draw mine, and while I'm colouring them and drawing them, I'm going to start to think, well, what is it that this donkey and this dog are doing together? What circumstances have happened where they're playing together, or maybe grooming each other, helping each other find food? Or is it like Jack and Charlie, where one's gone blind and the other one is helping leading it around? There's lots of different ideas and stories you can come up with. And on that, at the end of the video, there is a stop motion video that one of the art club members made just hours after making her puppets. Zoe came up with the idea of doing this stop motion, and she shared it with us. So we'll have a look at that. It's a great idea. So you can do that with yours. Or you could always get into a dark room with a torch or a lamp and create a shadow puppet theatre. Or another great idea we had from Tara in the art club, which is that you could use a box to create a theatre, like an old cardboard box, and you could use your puppets in that. So there's loads of things you can do with them. And keep in mind, if you have got a box of split pins, you can use them to make loads more things, more animals or people or different things with moving parts. And there's just so much potential with them. They're a great tool to have in your art kit. Great. Well, share your ideas and your work with us if you can, and we'll see you next time. Bye.